What's up, YouTube? Okay, so today is October 14th and it's about 7:45 in the morning right now. I'm actually out here in Malibu and I'm parked on the Pacific Coast Highway and I'm going to be driving towards the Palisades, right? I got a couple of deliveries out there. So while I'm driving through, I would like to talk with you guys a little bit about the real estate market in Malibu and the Pacific Palisades in particular, and just share with you guys some of my thoughts and opinions about what's going on and what could potentially happen there in the future, and some of my concerns. So that's what today's topic is going to be, and we're going to do a quick little drive-through from here on Malibu into the Palisades, all right? So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let me go ahead and flip the camera around and we'll get rolling. Okay, all right, so right in front of me to the right is actually that guy, that billionaire. I think he's a billionaire. His name's Grant Cardone. He's the 10X guy. I love listening to that guy, and he actually just did a podcast with Adam Carolla the other day. He's great. You should really listen to him. He's great. I really like the guy. And then if you look over here to the left, there's actually a property for sale. You can see the red sign in the corner. That is 21715. It's either Pacific Coast Highway or Rambla Vista. All right. Now that house has been on the market for, I'm not sure how long, but it's probably been on the market since at least the fires. And it doesn't look like anyone's in a rush to buy that property. It'll probably be on the market for at least the winter time, right? So it's, what is it? It's October right now. October, November, December, January. Those are really the slow months for the Palisades, right? Or for the real estate market. Not too many buyers in the wintertime. There's actually a lot of lots that are for sale right here on this strip in particular. Some of them have been sold, some of them haven't been. And there's actually zero construction. There's a house up there on my left that is under construction, but that house was under construction prior to the fire, and the fire came through and actually burned down their frame. So I'm not sure if that technically counts as a home under construction, but there's literally nothing going on here in Malibu when it comes to rebuilding, especially these beachfront properties here in Malibu. There's a lot of lots for sale, and I suspect that more and more of them over a period of time will continue to hit the market. More and more people will realize that it's going to be extremely hard, extremely time consuming, and extremely expensive to rebuild homes here on the beach in Malibu. And I think when people really wrap their head around how much money it's going to take to rebuild, they're just going to sell the lot. But I think that a lot of people are delaying that. They're delaying selling the lot because, you know, land values have really plummeted here in Malibu and also in the Pacific Palisades. You know, and that's one thing that I would hear quite often. Right after the fire happened and took out all of these houses on the beach and all of these houses in the Palisades, I would go on YouTube and I would listen to these realtors, and quite often I would hear that it doesn't matter that all of these homes burned down because the majority of the property's value was held within the land, right? So it's, yeah, you've got a $2 million house, but you've got a $4 or $5 million lot. That's really what it came down to. But I'm not so sure that's the case now, right? Because from what I understand, land values have basically plummeted. You know, they've nearly halved. You know, they're down 40% in the Palisades, and in some areas in the Palisades, they could be down even more. Like if you go up towards the top of Chautauqua, some of those houses that were built on those hills and cliffs, you know, those are going to be so hard to build. You know, the demand for land in that area, especially right now, while interest rates are really high, and in this environment that we're in, with the higher unemployment rate and the government shutdown and the potential for tariffs and and immigration raids and all of this stuff really matters. You know, people don't think that it'll play a huge impact on the economy, but it already is, you know. So, but I guess what I'm alluding to is there's a high likelihood that land values here in Malibu and in the Palisades, they could continue to go down, right? And I think one of my subscribers had mentioned to me that a lot of people who live in the Palisades, they're not actually selling their lots just yet because they're kind of crossing their fingers and hoping that over a period of time, the land will appreciate again. And I'm sure it will. And they're kind of waiting to put their lots for sale, you know, because they want the value of the land to go up again so they can at least break even, right? So I guess only time will really tell. In the short run, I think personally, I think that land values could continue to go down in the short term. But I think if you have a 10-year outlook, 10-year plus, I think everything will be fine. But 10 years is a long time to wait, right? It's a really long time to wait, especially if you live here in Malibu. Like, there's no question that these houses, like we're driving along the Pacific Coast Highway right now, and all of these fenced off areas, these were once beautiful, luxurious mansions. They will not be getting rebuilt anytime soon. I don't know, these people who own these lots or this land, these beachfront properties, I'm not sure that they fully understand what they're going to be getting themselves into if they choose to rebuild here on the beach. It is unbelievably expensive. And I know this to be factual because this is kind of what I do for a living. I go to these job sites and I drop off a bunch of building materials and I talk to the contractors and the engineers and the people who build these homes. And the prices are not going to be going down. You know, if you want to build a home in Malibu, there's only so many people that can do it too. There's only so many competent people that can actually build you a structurally sound house that's compliant with all of the rules and regulations and codes, right? And the people who can do it, they're going to be charging a premium. I promise you, their prices are going to be going up because they can raise their prices and there's really nothing that you can do or say about it. Right? Unfortunately, this is going to be an opportunity for them to do that, right? And I think that will, personally, I think it'll continue to force more and more people to sell their lots. And you know what? What's really funny, if you go further north in Malibu, like if you go, let's say, from Las Virgenes or where the Pepperdine University is, and you drive toward Neptune's Net, that restaurant across the street from the county line surf spot, there are so many houses for sale in Malibu in that area. If you drive along Pacific Coast Highway, all you will see are for sale signs everywhere. So I think a lot of people are listing their homes in Malibu for sale, but I don't think very many of them are selling. And I think that's going to be for a number of reasons. High interest rates right now are really putting a huge negative impact on the real estate market, right? Like if interest rates are high, nobody's going to be buying. But there's also another factor that people might not be taking into consideration. Rising insurance premiums. Right? Like if you live in Malibu or if you want to live in Malibu, the cost of insuring your property going forward post-fire is going to be astronomical. You know, if you can even acquire it. You know, I don't think that people fully understand how expensive insurance is going to be in the future in these areas. It's literally going to be extortion. And, you know, all of those houses that are for sale in Malibu, one of the main reasons why they're probably selling their houses is because of insurance alone. It's no longer financially viable to live in these communities unless you're going to self-insure, right? It's just, it's hard to fathom, but it's true. It's very true. I mean, you can imagine, like, if you're an insurance company, do you think you want to sell insurance to these people living here on the beach? No, you don't, because it's not a matter of if you're going to, a wildfire or a hurricane or not a hurricane, but a tsunami or an earthquake is going to come. It's just when. It's going to happen at some point in time. And the insurance companies are going to lose their ass, right? Like, that's why they've been pulling out of these areas. So I guess we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens over a period of time. But right now, things aren't looking too good in Malibu. I'm not too optimistic about the future. But I guess we'll have to see over a period of time what really happens and how this all unfolds, right? And, you know, it's funny because I was listening to that podcast with Adam Carolla and Grant Cardone the other day, and you just saw all of those houses on the beach, right, that we drove by. Those are 30 million, 40 million, $50 million mansions that just got burned up. And the majority of those people only had $3 million worth of California Fair Plan insurance, right? They had a $30 million mansion with only $3 million worth of coverage. Those people are out millions, tens of millions of dollars. And to rebuild a home there is going to cost tens of millions of dollars. I swear to God, I go to this job site in northern Malibu, and these guys spent 3 years, it's almost been 4 years now, and $10 million bucks. They're probably going to be going over the $10 million mark just to put caissons into the ground. Like, the caissons that are close to the street, those are 90 feet deep in the ground, and then the caissons that go into the actual water, those are 110 foot deep into the ground, right? And that's it's going to be 4 years pretty soon. 4 years and $10 million just to build a foundation on the beach. That doesn't include building a house, right? And if these tariffs actually happen, so rebuilding costs, labor costs, insurance premiums, all of that stuff is going up. And it's not going to be going down anytime soon. I promise you that. If you look up here on the left, what you'll see is a lot of people are draping their properties with this plastic, you know, in fear, because they're afraid that the land is going to give out from underneath them. Like, the land is literally eroding out from underneath them. And this is another reason why the insurance companies don't want to sell insurance here. I mean, look at these houses. They're up here on the cliffs, on stilts. And underneath the stilts, the ground is literally collapsing from underneath them. And they have to put these K-rails alongside the highway in case the land does give way. So it doesn't kill somebody on the street, right? And then you got another wrongful death lawsuit. So I would say, in my personal opinion, the real estate market here in Malibu in particular is the future for the real estate market is not very bright. There are so many unknowns, and I just listed off a bunch of reasons why the future isn't so bright. It's labor costs, it's tariffs, it's rebuilding costs, it's, you know, immigration. Like, all of the people who are going to build these homes, they were illegals, right? Like, that's the work that they do, man. They're contractors, they're construction workers, and they dig holes and they pour concrete and they lay rebar. Like, that's what those guys do. And if they're not here because they're going to get cracked down on and deported, like, labor costs are going up. If the steel that we import from China or Canada, or the lumber that we import from Mexico and Canada gets tariffed, like, hey, building costs are going up, material costs are going up, insurance premiums going up. property taxes here in California, they're probably going to be going up. They're going to have to, the city and the state is in a multi-billion dollar, well, the city alone is in $1 billion deficit. So they're going to have to start getting money somehow, right? They're going to have to start laying off a bunch of people, and then they're going to have to start raising taxes on top of the already high taxes that we have, which is really going to force more and more people to leave. People already pay enough. They don't want to pay more. Look at this. And then in the meantime, you got this mobile home park here on the left that still hasn't been picked up. Only God knows why. I'm sure it has some legal reasons why it hasn't been picked up. But it's unbelievable that that whole mobile home park is just sitting there with a bunch of debris on it. It's actually quite sad. All right, so we're coming up on Temescal Canyon. I'm going to be going up Temescal Canyon, and because I have a job coming up off of Swarthmore Avenue. So this is Temescal Canyon. I think this is probably going to be the first time I've taken you guys up Temescal Canyon since it's been closed. You can see there's a semi truck right here with all these caissons. Those are going in the ground somewhere. But all of those beachfront properties are going to have to put those big old cages in the ground. Not like that though. They're actually going to have to be. They're more expensive. They're rebar cages that are dipped in epoxy. So it's very expensive to do that. Oh, one of the things that I wanted to talk with you guys about as well was all of the houses in the Palisades, like in the Alphabet Streets. Like the other day I went to the Alphabet Streets and I showcased all of the houses that are under construction, right? The majority of those houses were more than likely built within the last 5 to let's say 10 years, right? And because of that, this is really what has allowed them to expedite the permitting process. Like there was already an existing permit, so they're basically just going to build the exact same home. So one of the things that I was kind of curious, and I still am curious to figure out, is what's going to happen to all of these homes that are being built in the Alphabet Streets and the Marquez Knolls. What's going to happen when they're completed, right? Like once the house is finished, do you think that somebody's just going to go about living in that house and living in a environment like this, living in a city that was just burned to the ground? Or do you think that that house, as soon as it's completed, is going to be listed for sale? Or all of those houses are going to be listed for sale? Or maybe not all of them, but a huge percentage of them. This is what I believe. I think that once those houses in the Alphabet Streets are finished, I think the majority of them are going to be listed for sale. I'm not sure if they're going to sell. I'm not sure if what the interest rates will be over the next couple of years. I don't think anyone really knows, but I guess only time will reveal that. And another thing that I wanted to talk with you guys about was all of those homes. Are those investors, right? Like, I have this weird feeling that the majority of the houses that are being built in the Alphabet Streets right now and that are under construction are investors. And when you think about what took place back when COVID happened, the Federal Reserve lowered interest rates to basically zero, and then they printed trillions of dollars. And this really inflated a massive speculative bubble in the real estate market. Like, how many people were flipping houses, buying houses, fixing them up, and flipping them here in the Palisades? I mean, this is a massive business. This is a huge industry, and people were making millions and millions of dollars doing it. I have this feeling, like, for example, this house right here to the right, this house is under construction. This is probably a newer house that was built within the last 5 years or so, right? That's definitely not a house that was built in the 60s, 50s, 70s, whatever. Like, that's a brand new home that was built within the last 10 years, easily. But who's building that house? I think that's an investment company. I think that's a company that specializes in building houses, tearing down older houses, building new ones, and flipping them for a profit. I think that's what the majority is happening here in the Palisades. If there's a home being constructed, it's probably an investor and a home builder flipping houses. You know, and that was happening all over the United States. You know, lower interest rates, printing trillions of dollars. You know, supply was extremely low, demand was extremely high, and everyone was flipping houses. That's exactly what took place here in the Palisades. You know, I remember hearing on the news up in like San Francisco, you would have this tiny little house that was built in like the 40s. You know, it was like 1,200 square foot, and it was going for like $2 million, you know, and some guy would buy it, and he would put some paint on it and put some flowers in the front, and then he'd put it on the market for $2.3 million. You know, and then you would hear about these bidding wars, like literally 20, 30, 40 people, 50 people bidding up home prices. You want $1 million, I'll give you 1.1. And then it's just unbelievable. And I know this is factually correct because it wasn't just happening in San Francisco. It wasn't just happening in Texas and Florida and Tennessee. You know, it was happening right here in Los Angeles. I saw it with my own two eyes. Like, I swear to God, like I live in Chatsworth, I live in the valley, and the house across the street from where I live, from 2019 up until really about like 2023, or whenever the Federal Reserve raised interest rates, right? Once the Fed raised interest rates, housing market got crushed. Nobody was buying houses. But between that time, from 2019 up until 2023, or whenever, the house across the street from where I lived must have sold 4 or 5 times. And every single time it was a flipper. Like, one guy bought it for $600, and then a year later he sold it for $700, and then this guy bought it for $700, and he put some paint, he put some flowers, he put some whatever, touched it up a little bit, maybe put 50 grand into it, and then he put it on the market for $950. 6 months later, bought it for $750. Put it on the market for $950. It didn't sell for $950. It sold for $1 million. Right? There was, you know, that didn't happen in a far off land in Never Never Land. That happened across the street from where I live, in my own neighborhood. And I don't live in a bad neighborhood. I live in Chatsworth, but you can only imagine what was taking place here in the Palisades, right? Like, if you think there was bidding wars in San Francisco, like, oh my God, imagine the bidding wars that were going on here. These people were tearing down homes like this one on the right, you know, while interest rates were low, and building big houses like this on the left. And they were flipping them. They were buying and flipping like you can't imagine. And I'm not too sure that they're going to be flipping these houses anymore. I'm actually very curious to see what happens in the near future with all of these newly constructed homes. I have a suspicion that as soon as they're finished, they're going to be listed for sale. So anyways, I actually have a job site right here on my left, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this video and handle this real quick, and then I'll get back to you, all right? All right, I'm back. Had to drop off a bunch of stuff at this job right here. So what do you guys think? What do you think is going to happen to the real estate market here in the Pacific Palisades and in Malibu? I think personally, if you ask me, I think the Palisades will be, it'll be better. The real estate market will recover a lot more quickly than the real estate market in Malibu. Just because you don't have to deal with the coastal commission and stuff like that. Building on the beach is really a nightmare. And obviously, as you can see, there's a lot of building and construction underway here in the Palisades. It's really just a question of how long is it going to take for the recovery. It's not really a matter of if it's going to recover. It's going to recover. It's just how long is it going to take, right? And what's going to happen to the value of these homes under construction, right? And I'm speculating, and I believe that a lot of these homes are investors, who were flipping houses here in the Palisades prior to the fire, right? Like when interest rates were low, they borrowed a bunch of money and they tore down these old houses and built new houses, right? Like that's their business. That's what they do. And they would build homes and sell them for a profit. But that's not taking place anymore, and land values have plummeted, and I'm not sure how quickly they're going to recover. And in my opinion, they could continue to go down. I know a lot of people don't think that's possible, but I do. I don't think anyone, if you told somebody back in 2022 that land values here in the Palisades would be down 40%, they, after a fire, they'd say you're out of your mind. Well, then again, you know what I mean? To be fair, I don't think anyone was expecting a fire of this magnitude to hit a city like the Palisades. But this is really the perfect example right here. You had this older home right here, 1940s, 1950s. The investment company would come in here, they would tear that house down while interest rates were low. They would borrow millions of dollars, tear that house down, and then boom, they'd build something like that. And they were flipping houses left and right here in the Palisades. Those days are over, and I don't think they're going to be coming back anytime soon. So those are just some of my thoughts and opinions, though, right? Like, I'm not an investor, I'm not a realtor, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm a truck driver who cheated his way through high school. So what do you guys think? I know this video is getting kind of long. It's coming up on the 20-something minute mark for sure. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. And yeah. So again, to all of the people who have been continuously supporting the channel, I just wanted to say thank you. I really do appreciate it. All of the likes, the comments, the subscribers, everything. I can't say thank you enough. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.